Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you are around the world. Welcome to the 2011 Magic the Gathering World Championship title match. I'm your host, Rich Hagan, sitting alongside the Pro Tour historian, Mr. Brian David Marshall, and there you see Richard Bland of England, the Blackborder.com player. He has made it all the way to the final. He was 1-3 on day one in standard, all but out the door, thinking about going after the Planeswalker points in side events, and instead, here he is playing for the championship. And his opponent in the orange shirt you see there, Jun'ya Iyanaga of Japan, a tremendous player, 24 from Setagaya, Japan, 80 lifetime pro points. He has monstered his way through a top 8 by being nicely positioned with his deck, which features Wolf Run, Kessig Wolf Run. Richard Bland is down to 4 for the opening game, and we are underway. Iyanaga, Rootbound Crag.
Turn 2, Rampant Growth.
Yep. So, Brian David Marshall, you feel that once again, just as it was against the two Tempered Steel decks that Jun'ya's already faced, that this match in a way is his to lose?
I do. I think his deck is just does more explosive stuff than Richard's deck, and he has the ability. His spot removal to interfere with Richard's plans.
Well, part of Richard's plans will be to actually draw some cards that can do something.
Right.
Right now, turn 2 is just a land for him. See, Hero of Blade Hold, Blade Splicer, couple of land. Those are the 4.
Simulacrum for the Japanese player. Goes up to 5 mana on turn 3.
Yep, so Iyanaga is well en route for turn 4 Titan.
Turn 4 Titan is so disheartening. There's so little you can do about it. This is where you're supposed to make a joke about you can't even dismember the Titans.
Oh wow, oh dear. Okay, I give you that one.
There's a Blade Splicer.
Go. Wow.
You hear Richard Bland say, wow, as Iyanaga says, go on his 6 mana turn 4.
He's got 8 Titans, where are they? 4 Primeval, 4 Inferno, go. So Blade Splicer plus the 3/3 Golem.
Well, the thing is, Iyanaga's deck actually has 10 Titans.
Okay.
Because he also has 2 Green Sun Zenith in his deck, and that's the card he's drawn this game.
So the 3/3 will come in. Iyanaga looks like he's going to put the Solemn Simulacrum in the way.
In front of the first striking golem, but he's going to shoot the Blade Splicer first. He's going to pump up the Solemn Simulacrum with the Wolf Run, and trade, draw a card.
Press 1. Yeah. Draw.
And that means he's well en route to getting his Green Sun Zenith to go find a Titan. Bland comes out with Hero of Blade Hold. That's a card that can do a lot of damage quickly. I'm going to just draw a Primeval Titan for Iyanaga. So he has the Zenith.
He only has 6 lands this turn.
Zenith for 4.
He's going to go get Thrun the Last Troll.
So that hits the battlefield. It's just the 1 copy of Thrun the Last Troll in the main deck, 2 more waiting in the sideboard. Bland draws. And we're going to see another blade splicer with a tending golem. And then pass the turn. Primeval Titan. Go and get a couple of lands. That'll be a pair of Inkmoth Nexus.
Surprising amount of game from Bland for 4 cards.
Sure. Probably not going to be enough though, is it?
I don't think so.
No. Don't think we're expecting Tempered Steel anytime soon.
Yep.
No Honor of the Pure. No everything gets plus lots. Two cards in hand for Bland. Another one. They've all got first strike. Which is actually by no means disastrous. Activate Inkmoth Nexus. Looks to be the plan.
Get in for 5 infect.
So Iyanaga goes into the ritual of counting what's on the other side of the table. Hero +2, the 2 blade splicers, the 2/3/3 golems, first strike, 20.
Okay. Get more poison throw if he only attacks with 1.
Yeah, because you waste time building up the other, don't you, I suppose? Naga checks his 2 cards in hand. So, activate. Turn a bunch of land sideways. And let's make that huge. Do we have a...
So that's
+3? +3.
5 poison. Could have been 6 if he
5 points.
just attacked with 1. Guess it doesn't matter much one way or the other.
Avacyn's Pilgrim. That's your lot. Bland with 1 card in hand. Multiple Wolf Runs, multiple Nexus, Primeval Titan, Thrun.
This turn it's 1.
+4.
+4. And that's game 1. So Jun'ya Iyanaga of Japan takes the lead 1-0 in pretty straightforward fashion over Richard Bland. And once again, that's what you were expecting to happen, pretty much.
Well,
Not the mulligan to 4,
I was
but
expecting Bland to start with a more, complete hand.
yeah. Slightly more than half a hand all he was left with.
So these guys reach for their sideboards.
So best of 5 games here, as they have been throughout the top 8. Not the teams, that's best 2 out of 3 because you've got the 3 matches to go at. So the 2 players looking to sideboard now. They have 15, of course, and there is Richard Bland's board on your screen. Couple of Celestial Purge, that's anti-black and red, 2 Gutshot, 1 Micaeus the Lunarch, 2 Naturalize, 2 Sword of Feast and Famine, 1 Sword of War and Peace, the 2nd and 3rd Thrun, and then 2 Thrun, and then 3 Timely Reinforcements. So BDM, any idea what might happen with that one?
Might bring in the pro-green sword. Certainly, I'm not sure how I feel about the Gutshot. I mean, there's nothing there that he wants. I think he's on the sword, honestly. Maybe the Thrun. He has a way to kill Thrun that way.
Indeed, yep. Bit of legendary action going on. Hero Bladehold, not legendary, by the way.
Yeah.
So there is Richard, busy trying to work out what sideboard he can do. Meanwhile, Jun'ya Iyanaga, there you see him going through the same process. Let's see if we can look at his board. A couple of Ancient Grudge for obviously anti-artifact, 4 Autumn's Veil, Singleton Beast Within, Slagstorm, which was so good earlier in the day, couple of Sword of Feast and Famine. He's also got 2 Thrun the Last Troll, 2 Tree of Redemption in his sideboard, and the Singleton Viridian Corruptor. So BDM, that's his board. Again, what do you think he does here?
Depending on how he feels about the swords, he might bring in the Ancient Grudge. Looking through, if he was bringing in Tree of Redemption earlier. He thought he was situations where he thought he was racing, going to be behind in the damage race, but it doesn't seem like he needs to bring in very much here.
The pressure is all on Bland to find a way to configure his deck to make the matchup
depends
different.
On how worried he is about swords, I think. It's whether or not he brings in the Ancient Grudge. Maybe another Slagstorm.
Okay.
Probably another Slagstorm.
So we are gearing up for Game 2 of the World Championship Final. Can Japan do the double? Mentioned a lot of Hall of Famers here this weekend. BDM was great to see Bob Marr here this weekend. John Finkel was in, and one of the things about Hall of Famers, I know a lot of you at home are interested to see how they do and want them to do well. You're kind of heroes from years gone by, but more than that, it's so great to have them in the building, because if you're like, I don't know, the 3rd seed on the Great Britain team, let's say, and you get to sit down in round 1 against a John Finkel or a Steve O'Mahony Schwartz or an Anton Janssen or a Frank Carson or a Rafael Levy. It's just a great thrill to be actually in the flesh going toe-to-toe with people who at some point have paid their dues and have got to the very pinnacle of the game. So the players, there you see the Union flag. There you see Iyanaga's opening hand, Keswick Wolf Run Forest.
Looks like he did bring in the Ancient Grudge.
He's busy thinking about that. Bland, meanwhile, has Avacyn's Pilgrim, a second one of those, Birds of Paradise, Gavany Township. In fact, it looks like a 4-land, 3 accelerant hand for Bland. So Bland is thinking, where do I go with double Avacyn's Pilgrim, Birds of Paradise, and 4 land, including Gavany Township? And the answer is nowhere. He's going to mulligan, and so is Jun'ya Iyanaga. So both players will go to 6. So the middle day, we've talked a lot about constructed because everything today has, of course, been constructed. But the middle day of Worlds, day 2 on Friday, that was all about Innistrad draft. And BDM, the pros coming in, I think it's fair to say that when Innistrad first came out, or even, if you like, before Innistrad came out, there was a certain sniffiness about it, that people were, people were concerned. They were like, okay, these double-faced cards, how are they going to work, and how's it going to work when you sit down to draft, and what are you going to show people? And a lot of nerds, people don't like change, and there were some concerns there. As they started busting the packs and started practicing and started playing and started finding that there was this strategy and this one and this one and this one and this one and mill yourself, and all of a sudden it suddenly rocketed up the popularity order to the point where this is arguably one of the most popular draft formats of all time.
I spoke to a number of people who held it in the same regard that they hold the Ravnica block for draft.
Wow.
So
High praise.
high praise.
Ravnica block draft, in case you didn't know, really separated the men from the boys and the ladies from the girls. That was a beating of a format. People like me couldn't buy a win in Ravnica block draft. It was super tough. Your mana was incredibly difficult to manage. Trying to pick where the cards went was just excruciatingly difficult. And Innistrad draft, it's popular for many of the same reasons, because it's a real mental challenge. So 6 apiece for the players here. Bland looking at Hero Bladehold, Sunpetal Grove, a double face card in Garrick. He's got Gavany Township again, a Forest, and a second Hero of Bladehold. So that's Bland's hand. Ancient Grudge, meanwhile, Solemn Simulacrum, Sphere of the Suns, a land. Looks like it might be a second sphere, possibly on the left.
Simulacrum.
Oh, a second Simulacrum.
He's got
okay.
one of each artwork.
Ah, right, okay.
And I think he's going to be going back down to 5.
So
A hard time imagining him keeping this hand.
So Iyanaga will probably go to 5. Bland, meanwhile, 3 land and some late things. He's going to keep it because he's got the double hero.
You going to go to 4 this game?
And you're going to go to 4 this game, says Bland.
Please no.
No, please do. Clearly. But in a very polite British fashion.
So it sounds like the cards Jun'ya brought in were indeed the Slagstorm, the Ancient Grudge. He brought in Beast Within as an extra removal spell, a way to deal with to make the Hero Bladehold a little more manageable, and the Thrun.
So there we see the top 6 Japanese finishers, 2 in the top 16. Iyanaga there, of course, in the top 8. Shuhei Nakamura came belting up on the rails, just too late to be in the mix for the top 8. Then Yuki Yoshioka, Akira Sahara, Nakajima, and Jomonji Ryu. So let's get to the action. They have decided to keep now at 5 cards. So off we go into action. 2 lands on either side. Slow start for both, but that favours the Japanese player. Gavany Township comes down for Bland without any use for them at the moment, but we know that he is heading towards a Hero of Bladehold. Turn 3, Rampant Growth. What do you reckon he drew that turn?
Bland did sideboard in the Thruns and the Swords.
Okay. So we will head back to Bland, who presumably is about to deposit a Hero of Bladehold onto the table. He has drawn a sword, and that is what he has decided to cast.
Doesn't have his 4th land.
Sure.
It's a Sword of War and Peace, so protection from red and white.
Which isn't awful.
Nope.
Here, Solemn Simulacrum gets Iyanaga to the point where now he has the amount he needs, just doesn't have the ammunition in hand, so will be now busy just looking at the top of his deck and essentially unmulliganing himself over a couple of turns. Looks like he's got some removal there in hand.
Cards in hand?
3. 3.
Go.
And Iyanaga passes the turn. There is land number 4.
Not the optimal color for making
A hero. So instead, we will see
Make a token.
Garrick Relentless. He's going to make a token. 2/2 Wolf. And pass his Inferno Titan. 2 and 1. Boom.
Cheers.
Oh dear.
Primeval Titan, Inferno Titan came off the top rope that time.
we'll add a Birds of Paradise to the table, and he will equip
Go.
the Sword of War and Peace.
Now we're going to see why Jun'ya brought in the Ancient Grudge.
So he stares at 4 red cards in hand.
How many first? 4.
Bland has 4. We know he still has that double Hero of Bladehold that he hasn't been able to do anything with. Also got Garrick Relentless.
17.
Shoot you to 17. In come the team.
My face.
So a couple of damage get through with Solemn Simulacrum, but at least the bird, because it's equipped, can just get in the way of the Titan.
Oh, he doesn't have the Ancient Grudge. He has 4 Galvanic Blasts in his hand.
Is it Quad Blast? Deck continuing to misbehave for Bland, who has 3 Hero of Bladehold now in hand, plus Avacyn's Pilgrim, which one day might, you know, create some white mana. But then again, maybe not. So, Iyanaga may have something to say about that. Five cards for Bland. Mulligan to 6, kept 6. Iyanaga mulligan to 5. Bland looking to see what happens if he goes with
He
Garrick
taps his
Relentless
bird.
again.
Go.
And he passes the turn. You may have just called in the background. You need to make a decision. Looks like Iyanaga is into Titanland again.
12.
12 is the score. Block. Take 2 from the Solemn Simulacrum. And there's Primeval Titan.
Guessing Wolfrun will basically make the sword moot.
Yep, Inkmoth Nexus and presumably Kesig Wolfrun coming up. Or is that a pair of Inkmoth? Yeah, it's a pair of Inkmoth.
Hmm. Maybe he drew a Wolfrun.
Oh, then again, since he has all these burn spells in hand, it's also pretty moot. Richard Bland about to be 2-0 down in the World Championship final
Value.
of 2011
Bird gets a little bit bigger.
with Gavany Township. Or Gavany Apartmentship at the moment rather than Township. There aren't a lot of folk around. 6 cards for Bland, but all the important cards on the other side of the table.
Including a Thrumalized Troll.
Attack.
Turn my guy sideways.
Take 3.
And 4 damage.
So
Go to 13.
And gain.
I gain
Iyanaga
6.
takes 3 and then 4 damage. Bland with 6 cards in hand gains 6. That's a bit of a turnaround. Then there's Thrun, the last troll.
Go.
Pass the turn. Iyanaga draws. He's drawn a Sphere of the Suns. That's not too exciting. Bland at 16. Iyanaga at 13.
Shot.
cast Sphere of the Suns. So, 3 counters.
Play Sphere of the Suns activates. Gets Metalcraft.
Galvanic Blast to you.
Players, can I clarify, how much life did you gain from Sword of War and Peace?
Gained 6, right?
How many cards were in hand?
6, then I played
6.
Throne.
Okay, thank you.
Just confirming the live totals. Here's
Take
another
16.
Galvanic Blast.
You probably don't even need to. Well, 8.
Here's Galvanic Blast
Can
number
he just
3.
show him all 4?
And there's... That'll be quad Galvanic Blast. And that will be 2-0 to Jun'ya Iyanaga.
So we always laugh about Magic players just playing the Galvanic Blast for just value. I just might have Metalcraft. But it actually came up there.
And Frank Carson, who's known as a bit of a slow roller in the past, is historically, we've seen 4 Galvanic Blasts to the face
Take
with
16.
Metalcraft. That's pretty extraordinary, and it gives Jun'ya Iyanaga a 2-0 lead in this final match of the 2011 season. What a season it's been. Think back to the Pro Tour in Paris. We saw Paul Rietzl almost pull off a ridiculous double, one of the true highlights of the Magic year, as he played in both the Pro Tour and the Grand Prix simultaneously on Sunday. Finally, though, it was Ben Stark who took the title there. We went to Nagoya, of course. BDM memories from Nagoya.
Nagoya for me was actually about meeting Fabian Thiele and Carrie Oliver, 2 players who were, you know, new to the Pro Tour and doing very well. It was, you know, for me that was a great trip in that regard.
Incidentally, Carrie Oliver looks like she may well have locked up a slot in Honolulu. She flew out last week for the last week of the season adventure to come and play in 4 days of PTQs and 2HGs and goodness knows what else in public events. She's been around all weekend, and we may well see her again in Honolulu. Certainly hope so. A great addition to the British Magic scene.
And Fabian Thiele ended his Pro Tour season with 30 points this weekend, second in the Rookie of the Year race. Fell 1 point short of the mark. Congratulations to Matthias Hunt. 31 points was enough to take the Rookie of the Year over Jornerud and Thiele.
And then we went to Philadelphia for Pro Tour 3, and that was modern, and that was just an incredible format, which has been changed now somewhat, but boy, for those few days, boy, did we ever see some magic. And Sam Black gave us some memories never to forget with his blue Infect deck.
Right. The black Infect deck that had blue cards.
A lot of them.
And one of the things that definitely came up this weekend in talking to people from Wizards of the Coast about Modern is that they said it was going to be a very managed format in terms of, you know, multiple people made that comment that the format will be pretty managed.
Okay, so what does that mean in practical terms?
Just means that you're going to see a lot of cards. You know, I would assume if cards cause problems, they're going to be sent to their room.
Okay. And presumably, by the same token, we will see cards potentially coming off the ban list as they discover,
I have no
it's not
idea.
that big a deal. Yeah.
It'd certainly be interesting to see Mental Misstep come back into Modern. Okay.
So we are gearing up for a game where we'd love to see both players keep 7. You never want to see the mulligans when it really counts.
Okay.
Bland is going to keep 7. Iyanaga is not. He will go to 6.
Iyanaga definitely knows what cards he wants to see in his opening hand. He definitely wants to see those Rampant Growths and Solemn Simulacrums. He has the opportunity to recover from the mulligan. You know, the Rampant Growth was an extra card. The Solemn Simulacrum is 2 extra cards. The Primeval Titan is 2 extra cards, at least. So he knows what he's looking for. He wants to find those cards. He doesn't want to keep a hand that's just kind of clumsy and does nothing. Yeah, that hand had plenty of Titans in it, a fair amount of mana. But, you know, it didn't do anything in the opening turns of the game.
So Jun'ya Iyanaga tightening his grip on Worlds.
Okay. Don't hurt yourself patting yourself on the back over that one.
I wouldn't dream of it. Been waiting 2 hours to do that one.
Sure.
Away
again,
we go.
Keeps a hand with rampant growth.
Avicen's Pilgrim. So acceleration for Bland. Jun'ya says, I tell you what, I'm the one who's meant to accelerate, you are not. Let's hope Bland wasn't relying on the Pilgrim desperately.
There's nothing worse than saying, oh, I can keep this hand, I've got a bird.
Yeah, but no, that's okay. So there's Mortarpod, first time we've seen that in the final. That did sterling work against Tempered Steel in one of the games earlier this morning, just machine gunned everything to death.
Not a card that seems especially amazing against Iyanaga, but I guess, you know, not enough cards to take out. I mean, he always has that opportunity to machine gun people with all his tokens with that card.
So acceleration for the Brit denied, accelerant for the Japanese player occurs without mishap. And number 3 for Bland
0.
will attack with the Mortarpod and pass.
There's a Solemn Simulacrum.
And there it is. And now, as we see land number 5, we will be just 1 away from Titan land.
I think I confused them.
Bland draws for his turn. It looks like he has a Hero Blade Hold. But again, that second white source is eluding him. The Gavany Township is colorless.
There is Iyanaga. That is the face, potentially, of your new Magic the Gathering World Champion.
It was interesting. I was talking to Kitamori from the Japanese coverage side, and he was talking about one of the concerns for Shuhei as a Hall of Famer now. One of the things he really feels responsible for is that next generation of Japanese Magic player. Iyanaga's been around for a while. He's been around for about half a decade, but you know, he's still a very young new player. Yuya Watanabe, the Japanese still consider a very young raw Magic player somehow. You know,
The former Rookie of the Year, former Player of the Year, could have been Player of the Year this weekend.
so who,
Inexperienced work in progress.
So for Shuhei, it's like, where is that next generation of great Japanese Magic players coming from? You know, is Iyanaga at the forefront of that new school?
Bland has laid land number 5. It is still not a second white source for a Hero of Bladehold.
He knows there's going to be an Inferno Titan or something of its ilk in his future.
Iyanaga decides to have a look at Gavany Township.
You get a beast within more.
Players begin to drift away as the writing is on the wall.
Certainly starting to look that way. Inferno Titan.
Resolves.
It resolves.
Yeah.
Ask not for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee, Richard Bland. So close now. Iyanaga can surely feel that
17?
victory is his.
Not 70.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, 1917.
Iyanaga sends in the Solemn Simulacrum.
He is such a deliberate player. I mean, you sort of get the irony from Richard Bland when he's like, okay, it
There it
resolves.
So there is a white source. And Bland has 5 cards. But he's barely been in the final. That deck has been just dominant throughout the top 8.
Yeah, Titans are still really, really good. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
I'm not really quite sure why the deck kind of waned in popularity in the weeks coming into this event, but can expect to see it at your Friday Night Magic, I'm sure.
Oh, yes.
There's a Hero Blade hold. It's going to pick up the
Mortar
little
pod.
bonus from the Mortar Pod.
Yeah.
And Bland passes. There is another Inferno Titan in hand. Here it is from Iyanaga.
Shoot it. Attack, shoot it.
Shoot it, attack, shoot it.
You.
Point.
18.
14 and 8.
14. 6.
6. We are one turn away from the end of the 2011 Pro Tour season.
One Titan attack, or 2 Titan attacks away. So he just has to attack with his 2 Titans, and he can do 6.
That's the game, that's the set, and that is the match. Jun'ya Iyanaga of Japan is your 2011 Magic the Gathering World Champion.
Yeah.
He defeats
Well,
Richard
good
Bland
matchup, isn't it?
by 3-0. There was no Kate, there was no Leo, but there was a titanic episode in the top 8, and it was Jun'ya
just waiting for
Iyanaga
a
with the
fourth land
Inferno,
game
with
too.
the Primeval,
I kept up
over
3 lands,
and
3
over and
four-drops,
over
yeah.
again.
And then, yeah,
Tempered
game 3
Steel
or double
couldn't
white.
cope. Tempered Steel
It happens.
couldn't
Exactly.
cope. Green-white
Worst enemies
tokens
is home mana base,
couldn't cope. It's been a
Sometimes you
dominating
forget.
performance by Jun'ya Iyanaga. He defeated Josh Utter-Leighton, he defeated Conley Woods, and now the sweep in the final over Richard Bland. Congratulations to Jun'ya Iyanaga. Absolutely outstanding magic, and he finished as cool as a cucumber just as he turned up at 9 o'clock this morning.
7 straight wins at least. He swept the semifinals, he swept the finals. He certainly won his last match of the quarterfinals. Just remarkable, just very, again, you know, we talked a little bit about this coming in with Conley, that sort of very flat affect that he had. And Iyanaga was just, I mean, right now you see him, he's beaming, he's, you know, his smile is ear to ear, but throughout the weekend, he was all business.
I think you have to be, particularly when you're in 2 tournaments. When you get to 7 o'clock in the evening, and then it's like a new day begins. Because if you've gone 6-0, day 1 he was 6-0, and then moments later he was 0-0. He was back at square 1 in the Magic Online. The next day, 3-3 in draft. Not a great day. But wait, now I'm at 0-0 again, and now I can go 3-0 in draft. And then yesterday, 5-1 in Modern, but wait, I've still got a chance of being in the Magic Online final.
Right.
So all these reset buttons.
And by the way, it's worth pointing out, 9-0 with Wolf Run Ramp at the World Championships. 6-0 on day 1, 3-0 on day 4.
It's pretty impressive, really.
If you're looking for a deck to take to Friday Night Magic, this might be the deck you want to build right now.
Absolutely. Can't argue with that.
You certainly don't want to be playing Tempered Steel this weekend at your Friday Night Magic.
Okay. Let us take you back to the start of the day. And at the start of the day, 4 players could have been Player of the Year. There was Owen Turtenwald of the United States and Team Channel Fireball, who had 64 points and was done for the season. He needed all sorts of things to happen today for him to be Player of the Year. One of those was that Luis Scott Vargas needed to lose his quarter-final against Richard Bland of England. 5-game set, but Bland took it. And that put LSV out of the running. So Owen was 1 step closer. Then he needed Paolo Vitor da Rosa and Josh Utter-Leighton not to win Worlds. So where was Paolo Vitor da Rosa in the quarters? He was up against David Kaplan of Canada. And a word for him, BDM, because I think he's one of the big stories of the weekend.
I was very, very impressed with Kaplan. He just had great humor throughout the weekend. He was someone who was not this kind of flat affect. He was almost the opposite of Iyanaga. He was very affable. He seemed to be having a great time. He wore his emotions on his sleeve. There was a point where it looked like he was out of the tournament, and he was distraught. And you know, and then every time, for the most part, whenever he was playing, he was very happy. He was very excited. I was very impressed with him. Again, also playing in the mocks, played, you know, 29 matches of Magic before the quarterfinals. That was his 30th match. Semifinals, his 31st match of Magic this weekend. Exceeded only by Jun'ya Iyanaga, who played 32.
So Paolo Vitor da Rosa went out in the quarterfinal to David Kaplan. Kaplan was through. Owen still needed some more help. He needed Josh Utter-Leighton not to win Worlds. Well, Josh Utter-Leighton was up against Jun'ya Iyanaga, and it wasn't pretty. Josh got a game, but still went down 3-1. And with those three results, Owen Turtenwald became the 2011 Player of the Year. And BDM, again, we said it earlier in the webcast, but let's be clear. The others didn't lose it. Owen won it. 7 Grand Prix top 8s. It has never been done in Magic history.
Kai Buda has not done that. Yuya Watanabe on his tremendous run in 2009 did not do that.
Yep.
And we also saw him go top 16 in Paris. He went 33rd here. Good enough, certainly good enough for top 32.
Yeah.
You know, it was a fine tiebreaker. It was like the third decimal.
400th of 1%. Extraordinary.
Yeah, just an amazing year for him.
So huge congratulations, a very, very worthy successor to Brad Nelson, and best of luck to Owen defending his title next year in 2012. A packed schedule of Grand Prix and Pro Tours coming your way. So the highlight, though, of the quarterfinals, and arguably of the entire day, turned out to be Conley Woods undefeated against Craig Wesco of the United States with his Geist aggro deck. And these two went at it hammer and tongs. It was 2-0 to Woods in fairly routine order. Woods had mulliganed to 5 in the first game and still won. Not at a canter, but nonetheless it was pretty clear that the writing was on the wall. We went away for the best part of an hour while Craig nudged his way back in at 2-1 and then steal some stuff, steal some more stuff. Let's make it 2-2. And then BDM, the 5th game, was one of the great games that the Pro Tour Final Sunday stage has ever seen.
You know, you often see players go into the tank, think, look at stuff, look at a hopeless situation, and come away with no hope. Conley looked at an incredibly overwhelming, daunting position and figured out exactly the sequence of plays he needed to make to have a puncher's chance of winning the game and the match. He needed Hit to play his turn perfectly. He needed Craig to not draw exactly, you know, the relic water or the removal spell that, you know, would disrupt his plan. And he did it. He executed it. Craig did not draw the card he needed. And Conley Woods won a seemingly impossible match.
It was quite extraordinary.
Definitely watch that one in the archives as soon as it's up. It'll be up sometime tonight.
Yeah. Absolutely spectacular. By that time, of course, we'd already watched Reed Duke win the Magic Online Championship over Florian Pils of Germany, a man who 2 years ago was in the top 8 of world, so no mug by any stretch of the imagination. A word for Reed Duke. I know you've got a lot of time for him.
I really like Reed a lot. It's this is his second Mox appearance. He made it last year. He has taken advantage of the opportunities he's had. He played in the Grand Prix circuit this year. He has a Grand Prix top 8 in Montreal, a Grand Prix top 8 in Providence. That's a limited format. That's a legacy format. He's done well in standard, playing in some of the independent tournament series that have been run around the Northeast this year, and just really impressed everyone who's watched him with his physical card play. You know, he plays the game. He represents himself really well at the table and just plays great Magic. A formidable online player who's really made the transition to IRL, to Magic offline, as it were.
Semi-finals came around. It was Bland against Kaplan, green-white tokens against mono-red. Kaplan very cheerfully at lunchtime said, I have almost no chance, like 20-80 underdog maybe. Didn't turn out like that. It was 100-0 underdog as it happened. Bland swept 3-0, and then Woods still undefeated on the weekend.
Right. His only 2 losses to that point were concessions to teammates to get them into the top 8.
Yeah, so that was Paolo and LSV. But in the end, the Tempered Steel deck could not get past Iyanaga the second time either. Josh Utter-Leighton couldn't do it, 3-1. Woods couldn't do it either. So Jun'ya Iyanaga was through to the final. Bland through to the final. At that point, we went away, and then we had 2 more bits of business to take care of. This was the team final. This was Japan against Norway, and then also the sort of subplot to all this was Matthias Hunt guaranteed a share of Rookie of the Year, and it was a question of whether Björnerud, the Norwegian, Sven and Björnerud, would have the chance to tie by Norway winning the team title over Japan. BDM, talk us through the team final.
The team final, we saw it all come down to Makihito Mihara playing against Bjornerud for the teams. Actually, if Bjornerud won, he would have forced a third game on the legacy side. Both players ended up just in this really, I want to say race, but I mean, it was so grindy, this crawl.
Yeah.
With Punishing Fire, Grove of the Burn Willows. It looked like Bjornerud was ahead, but then, Mihara presented a couple cards that Bjornerud had to kill. It gave
Kiki-Jiki Mirror Breaker.
Kiki-Jiki, a Spellskite, another Spellskite, a Deceiver Exarch. Those cards had to die. There was a little bit of extra life that provided to Mihara. He was able to tilt the race slowly in his favor and really just squeak out the win, securing the team championship for Japan yet again.
So congratulations to Ryuichiro Ishida of Japan, the national champion, Tomoya Fujimoto, and of course to the 2006 world champion Makihito Mihara. They won the team. As a result, Bjornerud tied for second in the Rookie of the Year race with Fabian Thiele of Germany. A fabulous year for him, and that meant that Matthias Hunt was the Rookie of the Year. What will Matthias Hunt's school kids feel about Matthias Hunt being a Rookie of the Year?
I'm sure they'll be thrilled for him, and equally give him a little bit of a hard time about spending his weekend playing at the World Championships instead of grading their papers.
Okay, so Hunt Rookie of the Year. That left just one piece of hardware to give away, and it was for the Magic the Gathering Championship of the World. It saw Jun'ya Iyanaga of Japan taking on Richard Bland. And, well, you said didn't really see how Bland was going to do it.
I didn't see it. Iyanaga had an amazing run with Green Red Wolf Ramp. We saw him beat Tempered Steel players all throughout the race. We saw him handle Bland very easily, and kudos to him.
It's the end of the year. It's been a real privilege to be with you. Myself and Brian David Marshall, we're going to be back again next year. Lots of exciting things along the way.
I would like to interrupt you for 1 second and take one moment to just thank Sheldon Menery, the head judge of this event. He's retiring from the judge program with this tournament. He has provided 12 years of great service to the judge community, to the Pro Tour community. He's done great work. We're going to see a lot more of him next year.
We are indeed.
But not in a judge shirt. And I just want to say, thank you to Sheldon for all his hard work.
Thank you to Sheldon, the men and women at Wizards of the Coast. Most of all, to you, the viewers, who join us around the world at all the time zones known to man and beast. Wouldn't be the same without you. We really appreciate your company. Until we meet again, for the Pro Tour historian Brian David Marshall, I'm your host, Richard Hagan, saying bye.